today two very, very exciting and interesting Ukrainian filmmakers, Kateryna Gornostai and Nikon Romanchenko, who gracefully agreed to join us for a very important discussion. And as I wrote in my introduction on the website, our film club decided to dedicate time this semester and this season, actually, 2 semesters, in fact, 2021 and 22, to the rubric that we titled New Genres of Contemporary Ukrainian Cinema. So we have already traditionally paid attention to classical cinema, a lot of it, and also to young voices in Ukrainian cinema. But now we have every reason to talk about an entire phenomenon, a kind of a trend that we have witnessed over the last several years. That's what I mean to say by that is the emergence of what can be, without any fear of exaggeration, called young Ukrainian cinema, that produces a voice of its own and also creates a genre of its own, of films that are made with younger audience in mind, not only because they feature the life and the problems and the conundrums that young generation of Ukrainians are faced with, but also they speak for that generation. And there are no better representatives of this new phenomenon than our two guests today, Kateryna and Nikon. And they became a kind of a small sensation in Ukraine last year. Their full-length feature film, Stop Zemlya, that defies genre attribution because it's a fusion of a kind, a very creative synthesis of at once several genres of filmmaking. And I'm not going to say anything else about it because we can get it from the horse of the mouth, from the filmmakers themselves. The film was quite a sensation not only in Ukraine but internationally. It got an important nod at the Berlinale, the Berlin International Film Festival. It was shown at the highly prestigious Lincoln Center Film Society here in New York. And I'm probably missing some other important things that kind of attribute to the film's artistic value. But what is the film, what is important is that it was purchased for theatrical release here in the United States. That's not a very frequent thing happening to Ukrainian films. We can only think of very few such films that got American theatrical distribution. That is both a reason for us to celebrate, but also to be regretful, because that meant that we were not able to screen the film here at Columbia University before its theatrical release, scheduled for February next year. So with that in mind, we are going to use tonight's occasion to talk about the film and the creative work of our two guests, anticipating American premiere of the film. We are still hopeful that we should be able to screen the film here at Columbia or in New York. And if that happens, the Ukrainian Film Club members will be among the first ones to have the privilege of watching the film. That is really something very, very special, something, and I'm telling you this as somebody who has experienced and who has closely watched films that are made in Ukraine. It stands apart from anything that I watched in so many ways. So guys, welcome to the Ukrainian Film Club. I'm not going to rehash your biographies because they are published on our website and everybody can read them. And the way we are going to construct today's conversation is that I will first ask you a couple of questions with the hope of provoking our audience into posing questions to you. Our audience had the opportunity to watch your two shorts that are themselves very, very interesting. And as we talk, we will let the audience chime in with their comments and questions, and that's our plan for today. Is that fine with you?
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, great. So my first question would be, can you just tell us a little bit how you decided to devote your life to something that is in Ukraine is really very risky business? You know, being a filmmaker, you really have to have faith, stubbornness, consistency, relentlessness, in addition to talent. How come you decided to do this, to start doing this? Kate, Kateryna.
I don't know. In some way, you know, it was really this medium of films. I tried different kind of things of like translating some ideas into different mediums, and yeah, and I felt in a lot of them. So film was like the thing that and everything was connected to the visual side of it. Was photography, it was like something like painting or something like that, and yeah, from photography I got to video actually, and the first my true love, I might say, it was documentary cinema, and it was about the reality that I really want to archive and to preserve, and from that point of view, all this happened like that. I don't know, but yeah, that's kind of a thing that when the lockdown came to Ukraine last year, it was for us the time to you know, to think about our profession and what to do next, because everybody was so uncertain about this kind of things that maybe filmmakers are no longer needed in our society, because yeah, but yeah, it's kind of a joke, but I don't know. This is the medium that I feel a bit relieved to work in, because others are more difficult to me. I think this is kind of one of the simplest medium to tell the stories, in my case.
Very well. Nikon, I know that you started as an actor. You appeared in a cameo role in Sound of the Wind by Serhiy Masloboychikov. And can you tell us more about how you ended up being a film director? Because there's a big difference between being an actor and actually being a film director in like full-fledged.
Yeah, it was the beginning of the journey, and of course it's was a huge for me to be a part of the big film. When I was a little kid, it was about 10 years, and after this I decided to try acting more in different or in advertising, small ones, and then I start to act in a theatrical institute, and I decided to create a bigger world in filming, because I think that it's more interesting to make different layers and to build your own world. So yeah, so I decided to go in a directing when I was 17.
So our audience had, thanks to you, had a chance to watch your two shorts. One is called Lilac, and another one, Leopolis Night, which is, Leopolis is Latin for Lviv, of course, the western capital of Ukraine. And both your shorts are about women. That's not terribly surprising to me as far as Kateryna is concerned, but somewhat surprising as far as Nikon is concerned. Did you somehow coordinate your interest in this object of your attention in the film, or was it completely by chance that you that you decided to make these two films, each in your from your own view about women?
You start, Kate.
Kateryna.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, for the next film, I'm thinking about it's only ideas to make a film about a male character, and I'm really interested in that. But as far as I was doing some films like this short film and this feature film, the first feature film, every time male characters were hard for me because this is completely other world that I don't really know it. But the characters of like female characters are familiar to me in different kinds, and yeah, that's kind of a thing that I know, and till this moment I was trying to make films about familiar things that like about to talk about things I really saw or I know. So for the Lilac, it's really simple reason this film to be created, because I have four close female friends, and we have this kind of a group of five. And um, this was the moment I lived through this moment when I had a secret and it was torturing me. And as far as I didn't even share this secret to the whole group, the time that we spent together in the group was really helpful for me to live through that period of life. So that was kind of a thing that I really wanted this film to be, and like a tribute to this friendship and tribute to these connections that we had it through school years. Actually, this is the group that I of my friends that we are friends from school years. Actually, that's more than 18 years now, so that's a lot. They are second people after my parents that know me, like maybe know me even better than my parents, and that was the reason to make this film. Yeah, so it was never the question what to pick, the female like character or male character. It was always the topics and the things that I really familiar with and I know them. That's how it worked.
The way you portray the protagonist, the characters in your film Lilac, impressed me as I'm seeing the new generation of Ukrainian women who are very liberated, in the sense that, and in that sense, your film comes across as being very feminist. And what I mean by that is that your women, these young women who live in Kyiv, who are very close friends with each other, they also define themselves as self-sufficient. They not, in Ukrainian patriarchal society, women were often brought up in this understanding that you have to catch a man. You define yourself vis-a-vis a man. You are after a man. Not in this case. These women define themselves on their own terms. They don't. I mean, men are somewhere marginal. At some point of their conversation, they appear, but they don't. They're not central at all. These women feel completely self-sufficient. And my question to you is, what is it that you wanted to tell your audience about these women that your audience did not or does not yet know?
You know, after the film, I learned such a thing as Bechdel test. I think you know it's from. I don't really know. I don't remember the name of the author of this test, but this is kind of a test that is needed to be like. It's a feministic test that should be applied to the piece of art, for example, the film, and it has different points. And I think with Lilac we gained a lot of points in this Bechdel test because we have only female characters, we know their names, yeah, and they are not like supportive roles to the male characters and all kind of things like that. Yeah, thank you. Somebody named the name of the author of the test. Yes, Alison Bechdel. And so but it was not like a purpose of that actually, because sometimes I even was criticized by my feminist friends that the girls in my film are too pretty, for example, or I don't have not a single like LGBT character, for example, from that group, or the like. So there's not a lot of like variety in terms of characters inside of these groups. But I had a picture of my close friends of this group of 5, and in that case I just stand this picture and just show my own friends that I have, that I was really close to reality. Actually, they look like that in the film, so they're really close to the people I know, and I try to recreate some part of my reality that I really know. And I think this is the actually the answer to this question as well. So I wasn't trying to say something that maybe somebody don't know or don't have in their reality. I was trying to reflect my own reality, and think our generation has this kind of a thing in mind, so it's on its place. We don't have this kind of a patriarchal point of view on life over women in a society. I want to think like that. So, but we talk to them, and this is the great topic of relationship and different things like that. But this is not the priority. And for me and my friends, female friends from childhood years, it was really important to be somebody, and to gain some profession, and to find themselves in life, what to do actually in life. And I think that it was the priority of in our reality. So yeah, I don't know if I answered the question.
Very well,
yes.
thank you. Nikon, you see, Kateryna feels kind of easier with the subject matter that she knows, and she chooses, themes that she is familiar with. And you chose to talk about women, young women, as something that I don't think you feel like you are very familiar, or more familiar with women than with men. How come you decided to make a film, and I'm talking about Leopolis Nights, about these specific women? What's behind it?
Actually, it was firstly it was the to make a film about the couple, about a boy and a girl that they meet in Lviv for one night, and they have an energy inside, and they understand that tomorrow it will be nothing, just meet for one day. And then like like the similar reference, sorry, I'm not so good maybe in English, but I try, the Lost in Translations more, if you know that film, that
Yes.
it was the yes. And firstly it was yeah. Firstly, it was the two people that meet and have a really intimacy energy inside to each other, and then when I meet, actually it was after biographical story about me and Olga. Olga is main actress of that film, and she works in theater, that Warden Voice, that named Warden Voice in Lviv. And then we decided when we came to Lviv that there are two more girls that are acting in that theater, and they play like a trio. So I decided it will be more I don't know, deep and more organic to make them like three girls that like nymphs in the night with the national songs that doing like a kind of magic atmosphere of that city because of their singing. Actually, because if Ola were singing like alone, it was a different film. So I decided to make them like a trio, and me like a guy like lost in that city. And it's actually it's a film about tiredness and of a feeling that we want to fly but we can't. So yeah, it's kind of this.
I am always tempted to ask young Ukrainian film directors, but not only young. The question that once was told me by Krzysztof Zanussi, a famous Polish film director. He and I many times had long conversations about Ukrainian film, and he said once that he poses to Ukrainian film directors, and he spent a lot of time and effort inviting young Ukrainians like you to stay at his house in Warsaw and taught them what he has to share in terms of film directing. And what he likes to ask them is, what makes you a Ukrainian film director? What does it mean for you to be specifically a Ukrainian film director that cannot be mistaken for any other, for Polish, Russian, English film director? Is there anything about you two guys, specifically Kateryna and Nikon, that makes you unmistakably Ukrainian?
I don't know, maybe it's a lot of freedom and experiments in the shooting and in trying to write in script. I don't know. We feel a lot of freedom to do with experiments in the film, I think. I don't know.
Okay, and Kateryna?
I don't know. It's really strange thing to look, for example, on one film, how different audience perceive it from like Ukrainian audience and audience somewhere abroad, and this is now one of the most fascinating thing for me because, for example, abroad I see how people read subtitles and how they react to some funny things in dialects, for example. Sometimes beforehand the character even said it because they already read the subtitle and they reacting to the text more than to the sound of the text. But anyway, the audience abroad feels the story because I think cinema always works with the story of some universal kind of things, so universal stories. So every person somewhere in the world can understand similar stories because we all people and we all have different experience, but this experience is similar in some way. But to see and to hear how Ukrainian audience perceive your film in Ukraine, it's something really different. And this is the thing I really like, I think, on Ukrainian screenings, because I don't know how it happening, but sometimes people react to the characters and know these characters too well. And they feel this kind of the characters feel through language, and this is really interesting thing when there's really a lot of energy contains inside of the language of the characters, and sometimes some things are we were really struggling with translating the subtitles actually with every my film, because there's a lot of language inside of the film, and it's always the case that I'm really struggling with the subtitles and try to reread them and try to always be in touch with some people from American native speakers and British native speakers to try on them this subtitles, what works, what not works, because this really I think that's if we got the percentage of the film, if Ukrainian audience gets this 100% of text that film contains, then a broad audience maybe understand, I don't know, maybe 60% of the text. And this is the pain I for me, because I really want all the things to be understand that by different people from different nations, but it's completely it can't be like that. So yeah, but I think if I was as a filmmaker, if I, for example, tried or wanted to shoot on some different language, it would be terrible, I think. So yeah, so that's why I really like that we can in Ukraine we can do like universal stories, but in this about our own reality, that it's really like really alike, that's like reality of some people abroad, but I really like this authenticity that we can make in Ukrainian films. I don't know, so yeah, that's maybe.
And so language is an important part of being authentic, correct?
Yeah, that's truly yeah, because with the language as an instrument, we get a lot of different things that yeah, could be translated only like in that way. Yeah, so this is an instrument, and this is really interesting instrument. And in terms of improvisation in a film, it's really interesting instrument for me.
I must say that as somebody who studies Ukrainian cinema quite closely for more than 20 years, I think you are one of very few Ukrainian film directors who feel the language the way you do, and who attach so much weight and attention to how important it is to work with the language. But I hope we are going to talk about it today at greater length. But I wanted to ask a question to both of you. Again, a question I can't help asking. When you make a film, and there's a number of films you made, shorts, but also feature lengths, your audience, who is your audience? Is it primarily Ukrainian audience, or is it world audience, or is it the audience of the so-called Russian-speaking market, the Commonwealth of Independent States? And this is the question that is very, very Ukrainian, because we have this very colonial tradition of making a lot of films in Ukraine with a Russian audience in mind, because there's greater markets, more money, and you want to earn more money, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And so you film in Kyiv, but there are no Ukrainian language signs. The license plates on cars are Russian. Policemen wear Russian uniforms, and on and on and on. This is particularly true of all kinds of television series and stuff like that. So my question to you is, I'm curious to know, in your mind, who is your audience primarily, first of all? Who is your viewer? Nikon, do you want to start?
Yes. First of all, yeah, it's here. We try, I think both of us trying to make films, first of all, for us like an audience, for our generation, and for people who we know and people who understand our languages. So it's the first, I think, the first place, but mostly for the of course for Ukrainian language audience that speak in the Ukrainian language, but there's a lot of audience that actually speak in Russian, and it is a lot of those situations like we don't want to go on a Ukrainian film because we don't have Ukrainian good films, yes, because they can't listen even the Ukrainian language. But we I think that now it is the beginning of I don't know of how to say of borning the Ukrainian film language, because of a lot of young people, young students talking in Ukrainian, and it's pleasure to see and to hear this. So maybe Kate, you can continue.
Kateryna.
I just read the question in Q&A tab about the why Lilac is mostly in Russian language, and this is yeah, actually the answer to this question is really simple, because of the reality of like not the reality but truthness of dialects. Was the primarily purpose of this film. I really wanted it to be improvised a lot, and as far as we had not any great budget on this film, it was really low budget. We may say no budget at all, so it was like 2 or 3, like 2.5 thousand of, yeah, like thousands of dollars. So it was really not a big budget for such a film. And on that particular moment, I really wanted to try this kind of an experiment where we can gather together and actresses and try to improvise some kind of things like that to make this feel like a documentary more than a fiction film. And I wanted to preserve their truthness in language. That's why the most part of them are talking in Russian, because Russian is native language for them. So I was picking the actresses not by a language, but by, yeah, I was casting them as the people that are, I was feeling that they are like the best, the best actually for that roles. But it was like that they have actually their native language as Russian, and we didn't have the strength to fix it, because this is I in Kyiv we have great problems with these actors kind of a profession, because a lot of them are working on Russian series and on Russian market, and they are Russian speaking in their real life. So that's why it's really hard to make this truthness in dialects when you're working with such an actor. And that's why you need to do a great work to try with that people, to try with them improvisation in Ukrainian. And in Lilac we have now a purpose to make it like a Ukrainian language film. We really wanted it to make this kind of experiment, and that's why they are talking in native languages they have. And this is the reality, that 50% of people in Kyiv are talking in Russian, and this is the I myself I may say that I'm bilingual. So my parents are both from academic background, so they are teachers from university from Soviet times. That's why Russian was a native language in our family, because they are from academic like grounds from Soviet times. But anyway, their parents are from a Ukrainian village. That's why we have this like some kind of a mixture of Ukrainian and Russian, and I use both of them with different people. And so this is the reality, and this mixture is kind of a thing that we have now in reality. Yeah. But when you have, for example, bigger budget, and when you have the time uh, to do the film, this is the interesting thing. You can try to or to find people that are native speaking Ukrainian to be in the film, or to try to like uh, uh, try to learn to improvise with your actors in Ukrainian. And this is really interesting process that we didn't have any nor budget nor time in terms of Lilac, unfortunately. Yeah. So, but as for me, I didn't. I don't remember myself thinking of doing a film in Russia because of the Russian market. This was not the case in any case. And this is, I may say that I was like the Moscow School of Documentary Cinema, actually my alma mater in cinema, I may say it like that. And I have great teachers from Moscow that were teaching me the directing, actually. So, and I have a lot of friends there. And when the war started, it was really torturing thing for me, because people that were not able to know anything about Russia and haven't been there ever, they were just like cutting this kind of a territory from us, and that's all. But I was I don't know how to say it, but I know the people that are really on our side, and they're really struggling now in Russia because there is really dark times there now. And yeah, so this is kind of a thing that I know that side too. So, but I wasn't trying to, make something that would be more understandable for that audience, because yeah, I'm the most part of my life I was living in Kiev, and Kiev and the people of Kiev were the reality I was living in. And this is actually, that was the people that I really aiming to make films for. And I think that in terms of Lilac, it's really interesting thing that uh, uh, strangely enough, but this film have a lot of friends. Mostly this is the audience from festivals, not like common audience, because it's a lot of talking in my films, and in Lilac they're always talking. And but surprisingly, a lot of male audience is a friend of the film as well. For me, it was a surprise, because yeah, I was expecting that maybe more female audience would be with the film like closer than a male audience. But it appeared that for some men, this film was really interesting to watch, because they were never able to see such a company from inside, the company of girls that are really intimate to each other, and talking on some intimate things. And for them it was like the opening of the new world that they were never like they were never in, actually. So yeah, that was yeah.
Uh, that's great. Is it fair to say that what you had no opportunity to do in Lilac, you did beautifully in Stop Zemlya? You created this fantastic and incredibly believable reality of young Kyiv, speaking Ukrainian, having provoking not a shadow of a doubt that it's authentic, and paying so much attention to the issue of language. That's one of the reasons I'm completely in love with your Stop Zemlya. I first watched Stop Zemlya and then watched Lilac, and I thought Lilac feels like preparatory, like a research work for Stop Zemlya, because there's a continuation, there's a development of a similar subject matter. And Stop Zemlya is really, I can't think of any other film that is such an interesting study of the young generation of Kievan youth, done in such a subtle way, and kind of featuring the conflicts, men, women, men, women, all young, children and their often manipulative mothers, then reality of it all. Can you tell us a little bit about how you came up with the idea of the film?
It's really simple thing that I was from my childhood years. I was really in love with this genre of coming of age films that was mostly American, actually, because yeah, I was raised on American genre films, I may say it like that. And this is the thing that, because I wasn't, you know, I didn't had like a proper film school. That's why I wasn't raised on classic European authors cinema, and this American genre was more familiar to me than, I don't know, French New Wave, for example. And that's why I really loved these films and this series, and I really love that. But every time I saw such a film, I thought that yeah, that's really cool and interesting, and it fascinates me, but it's completely not similar to my life. That my life was really boring as a teenager, and I was like yeah, like I was ordinary girl with a lot of different problems that was like maybe more inner than outer problems. So everything was okay. I was studying okay. I had really good family, and the parents was really good. And my friends, as I was told, that were like prototypes of Lilac, they were really, we had a great company. And so everything was fine, and my life was like okay, but something was missing. And maybe this kind of a drama that was always in such a films, it was missing from my life. And that's why I really wanted such a film about like a teenager that I was, that has a life and has these struggles anyway. So I really wanted this to portray this kind of a simple, ordinary life of the teenager, but uh, that's having a hard time without any hard time. I don't know. That was like the one of the initial ideas of Stop Zemля. Um,
How did you select your actors? They are all unprofessional, correct? They are all.
yeah, mostly two of them had experience in the films, but yeah, most of them are not non-professional actors, and now
I'm not
uh,
saying I'm not saying they are non-professional because I know, because I feel it from the film. No, the wonder of it all is that you made them act in a highly professional manner. I mean, not a single time do I question or do I have the issue or the problem that they are not professional. They don't act professionally. How did you do that?
Uh, actually, the dramaturgy is really simple. You know, it's. I'm not a good dramaturgist. I'm really studying to. I really like to write the scripts, but I think I'm not great in that by now, and that's why this dramaturgy is not so big to play something significant there. You know, it's like the scenes from really simple life that they are. This life is really familiar to the characters and to the actors, and that's why it was simple for them to like recreate the things that they already experienced somewhere. In a similar setting. So yeah, that's why I think it was and we had this kind of a time to prepare, to improvise and in Ukrainian language, and time to prepare to be a group and to they knew perfectly what kind of a film we're doing. They knew this kind of a level of uh, як рівень умовності, ну, як level
of conventionality.
Yes, inside of their actors' work. So they knew that we are tending towards this kind of a documentary theater more than some fictional like theatrical being inside of the film. So they knew that we tending more towards the reality than the theatrical reality. And that's why they are so understanding how the reality for me, they were for all of us, and they were really great friends for me to indicate this kind of falseness inside of the frame. So we were working together with them, and they would completely understand what we're doing and how it should look like. So we had this kind of we built this platform. On this platform we worked. So this is the great preparation period, I may say.
So when you were casting them, what were your requirements? What were you looking specifically? What were you looking for in each and every one of them?
It's really difficult to say, this one feature that is, or like a set of features that we were looking in them. I think that the most thing that I was looking is this is the person that I would be really interested in, and the person that with whom we could talk an interesting talk. I don't know. It was actually the thing that really helped to pick them. So sometimes it was really interesting to talk to this person, and I knew that, for example, she or he are not from the main cast of the script, but I really want to continue to know this person and to do something with her or him. And that's why they continued to work with us in laboratory and then in the film. So it was mostly, I think the group of these kids is really the people that could be my friends at that age, or are really interesting to me as person, as like not like the faces, but as characters and persons, like real people. And and they are I think that they are something. I saw different kids on this process, but they are. This is the really like really cool group. I don't know. They're really cool. So yeah, this is unrealistic. This is idealistic situation to have such a class, I think. But it was okay for us to have it, because I really wanted to work with people that are really. I'm interested in working with. So,
and unlike Lilac, where you simply decide not to change anything about the language profile of your characters, you allowed them to speak whatever language they spoke, Russian or Ukrainian or Surzhyk. In Stop Zemlya, everybody speaks Ukrainian. And I don't think your actors, unless I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but I had the feeling, knowing the reality of Kyiv and Kyiv schools, that these kids, these young women and men, in real life, what language do they speak in real life?
They prefer Russian, unfortunately.
So my question to you is, how did you work with them to make them sound believable? And they do sound believable speaking Ukrainian.
We had a regime, Ukrainian language regime, actually. While we were preparing and doing this actors laboratory with them, it was the rule to speak only Ukrainian, and all our coaches were speaking Ukrainian to them, and I tried to be like a barking dog all the time on every like on every lesson, and every we're going somewhere to smoke or something like that, you should speak Ukrainian, and it was the rule. It's strangely enough, but 2 months it is okay time for them to 3 times a week, but they were in this kind of atmosphere of Ukrainian language with each other. Some of them were really bad in Ukrainian language, but at the end of the laboratory, they they all know Ukrainian language, and they use it on lessons in school, but not in real life, and this is the problem. And some of them are bilingual. They, for example, with friends, they talk Russian, but with family, they are Ukrainian speaking. But some of them are completely Russian speaking, and they try to read a lot of Ukrainian literature while we were studying and preparing for the film. And this was really helpful. So we were just trying to be in the regime of the language, because I was really struggling to um, to have this performance, improvised performance in terms of dialects inside of the films, and I was really needed. And it was said, it was told on every our meeting and lesson that this is really important. Yeah, so this
and you made a conscious decision as a director not to use surjik, which is an easy way out. Like surjik is now being used everywhere as a substitute for Ukrainian, but you use Ukrainian, which is dialogical Ukrainian, which is colloquial and believable and easy flowing. And to me, and I know as a linguist, it takes a lot of work to make sure that that's the Ukrainian that you end up with. How did you work on that?
Actually, I have some kind of a words in our film that I feel a little bit painful when I heard it every time I see the film, because I know that they are not completely Ukrainian, and this is kind of a translated Russian word sometimes. I know these places inside of the film, but you know, this is kind of a I think that this is really interesting thing to talk about, because I believe that Surjik is I believe more in dialects of Ukrainian language than in Surjik, and dialects are really interesting for me. But dialects, this is the thing that this is the same. You can't play it. You need to know this kind of a dialect to speak on it properly. And for me, this is one of the most fascinating thing in Ukraine, in every film. For example, in film that like Scottish or Ireland dialects or something like that, when actors learn to speak properly on some dialect of a language, this is kind of a cosmos for me. But so my point is that the Surjik or dialects are really even more difficult to learn and to recreate in a film than proper Ukrainian or proper Russian. So yeah, that's why we were sticking to the thing that we know, Ukrainian, and we really try to. I think that they know like Ukrainian literature language well, but they don't use it actually. These kids from Kiev, and we really were in need to we had, for example, a more simple solution to find somewhere from different regions where Ukrainian is more common for young generation to speak, for example, Ternopil or Lviv or Ivano-Frankivsk. But it was the big thing it's really costs a lot of money to keep all these people for a long time in Kiev, and to yeah, to make them come to Kiev to the whole period of shooting film. So yeah, that was the economical reason to make this film in Kiev, but we needed this time to train Ukrainian with them to be like to sound naturally. Yeah.
Nikon, you did the editing, and I must congratulate you on that, because I think you did an excellent job, and I'm not the only one who is of that opinion, because you got recognized at the Odessa Film Festival for your editing job on that film. Is that correct? You got a prize for that. Can you
sorry? Sorry, not for the editing. Correct a little bit. It was the prize for the best direction for the short film.
For the short,
but it's okay.
But there was. But you were mentioned. You also got a form of recognition for editing the film. Is that the case? For editing
no.
Stop Zemlya, unless I'm mistaken. Never mind. It's beside the point.
Okay.
In one particular episode of the film, I thought about you without even knowing who did the editing. There is a scene in the film when they speak Ukrainian, and suddenly one character says, "What is it in Russian, by the way?" And then there is a pause and then cut. And it was like a wonderful way of sending a signal. Who cares? What is it in Russian? We are self-sufficient without speaking Russian. And I thought I must say, like how impressed I was with that kind of editing. But so congratulations on that. But what was your challenge? What was your biggest challenge when you had to edit the film?
Thank you that you mentioned that scene, because it was the great solution for us too, because nobody knows what is this word in Russian.
Because nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody cares. Yeah,
Yeah.
The most hard it was to balance this film in one whole structure, because it's have had different layers. It has narrative. It has dreams, the magical realism scenes, and there is an interview scenes that it's like the portrait of a whole class. So that was the most hard job to do. But Kate also is editing, and she edited this film when she was shooting. So in the mind, yeah. So that was easy to talk about the editing process. And I think that is the most hard editing work in my life, but it was the great process, because the most hard it was to make a lot of heroes to be visible and to feel them, to feel those intimate scenes, and to feel how they are attached to each other. So yeah, it was a great time, and I hope we will work on the next films together.
Great. And I wanted to ask you about something that was a question that was posed in the chat, and I wanted to expand the question. It's about vulgar language, vulgarisms that seem to be increasingly popular in Ukrainian recent films, to such an extent that some people find it insulting or unbearable to watch films loaded with vulgarisms. And I'm not talking about Stop Zemlya. I have in mind the film Bad Roads, that is loaded, and it's not my opinion. It was criticized for this avalanche of four-letter words the film is not in Ukrainian, it's in Russian, and Surgical in Russian basically. But did you have a problem, Kateryna, kind of proportioning the presence of vulgarisms in the speech of your characters? They do use bad words that are unprintable, but that are used nowadays in Ukrainian films. And if so, how did you decide? How did you resolve it?
I had a situation on one short film where it's a crocodile about teenage as well, and it was like a film to prepare for the feature film. And we had one scene where we were designing the dialogue, improvising the dialogue, but it was really important dialogue, like one of the culmination part of the film. And we were doing it, and it sounded something like not really on its place. Something we're missing there. And then we added like a strong word there, like a vulgarism, and it worked. It worked really better than it was before. And this is one of the example how sometimes this vulgarism and strong words are really doing the dramaturgy of things. But I'm preparing for this question from Ukrainian audience, why this is so many strong words you have in your films and why it is so, and this is kind of a not really good thing, you're doing it like that. But personally me, I'm not using it when I'm, talking officially, but actually I really like this these words, if to be true, because this is sometimes you can't say better without it. I don't know how to express it, but sometimes it's really necessary to use them to, I don't know, to express this kind of feeling or energy on some kind of a topics. And I think when it's proper to use it, it's really good thing to use it. And this is the part of the reality. Actually, when we started the laboratory with kids, with teenagers, it was really interesting thing. But when they see that we are, we tried to make the free territory inside of the laboratory, and that's why they, on some level, they began to talk freely, and they began to use these strong words because they understood that we are not the people that would be like pushing them not to use it and to be proper teenagers. Like they use it in their real life, and it needed to be there. And in terms of Lilac, it wasn't like the I think it's maybe we had in the reality of these young women, they use these words less, but anyway they used it, and anyway they used it in proper places, and these words were not placed there on purpose. They were placed there because it was like a flowing of the language, and it shouldn't be there because the energy was like that. So I think that I'm the person that I think that's nothing bad in such lexicon. I don't see nothing bad in such a lexicon when it's like a part of a personality and part of the energy. So so I don't know.
And
Maybe that's
I agree. I agree with you. I don't only agree with you. Behind me, you see the dictionary. This dictionary that I compiled. It's Ukrainian English Collocations Dictionary. It's the first Ukrainian dictionary where vulgarisms are described. All these vulgarisms are described. I just had its presentation in Chicago, and people were reading vulgarisms because that's the first things they're interested in. They were laughing, and then very, very respectable local women who were my hostesses. They told me, пане професоре, ми все життя прожили і не знали, що пизда пишеться через і, а не через і. А виявляється, що правильно казати пизда, а не пізда. Я кажу, well, there you go. And then I told the story to my mother, who is 87 years old, and she knows a thing or two about language. And she said, in our village, nobody ever said pizda. Everybody said manda, and it's equally vulgar and very bad. And so I said, oh, maybe I should change it in my dictionary from one to another. But my question to you is, as you use vulgarisms, do you want them to be more Ukrainian than simply repeating Russian things? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Like manda instead of pizda, and
for the first time, yeah. I think it will be probably more powerful and melodic.
But also, Ukrainians have a very long-standing tradition of vulgar and erotic, folklore. There are books published with Ukrainian Soromitsky pisni that use all these things galore, a lot, and we simply don't know enough about them. But there's this sub-layer of Ukrainian folk culture, always also very often connected with the cult of fertility, of procreation, of having children around, created around wedding ceremonies and stuff like that. but that is an issue that we pretend that we are so very innocent about, but we are not. Ukrainian, as every developed language, has a lot of that. But I wanted to ask you also a philosophical question. I think your film answers it. And the question is, do you think that film should reflect the reality, or should it transform the reality? And in Ukrainian context, this philosophical question is also existential question, because we have inherited a kind of reality from the Soviet occupation that is very often very ugly. And if a film were to just reflect this reality and legitimize it, perpetuate it, continue it, and kill things that are contrary to it, your film seems to transform reality. It seems to invent the reality that doesn't really exist in Kyiv, but it presents it in such a credible and believable way that your fantasy becomes stronger than reality. What would you say to that? Or am I reading too much into your film?
It's really interesting if yeah, I you know, something that I knew from my life, and they really helped me. I really want them to, if for example we talk about Lilac, not Stop Zemlya, because in Stop Zemlya there's a lot of things that really wanted to be idealistic in a way, because we didn't like any school that we, for example, in terms of searching the place to film, we didn't like the places, because every school was painted in really ugly color, and I don't know why, but aesthetically the schools are awful mostly in Kiev, and that's something that there's no any aesthetic in the school, and we tried to build it in the film, because film really wanted to create this kind of a world of this idealistic school that we would be really like to go to. But in terms of Lilac, for example, it's another thing that some situations of my life were really were example to me, like really helped me through some kind of a dark periods or something like that. And I was I think every time that when I make the film, I have this aim for people to watch a film, and for example to have this kind of a wish to do something afterwards, for example to talk to your close ones, or to speak on some tough problems that you have to some close person, or to, I don't know, to do something maybe that the protagonists are doing in a film, and this is not a common thing to do, for example, like, I don't know. And I think this is because in reality sometimes people are not talking, or they are not doing it, and I really want to reflect such a reality that maybe would push people to change something in their own behavior, and to not like to answer some questions, because some questions are really tough, but to maybe to pose them and to think together with the audience about this question, maybe to have some kind of topics that are really important to me, to them, and for example for somebody from the audience to feel that they are not alone in such a problem, or such a thing. And I think that this therapeutic kind of cinema, for me it's maybe one of the like one of the most important things that cinema could do. I don't know, because yeah, that's so yeah, I try to make it to look like a reality, but in some way I really want to reflect the reality I really like. I don't know. It's yeah, so yeah, this is maybe the answer.
Well, there's a saying, I just invented that saying, or maybe somebody said that, artistic reality is often much stronger than the reality in real life. That's why artistic reality lives for such a long time. If a person of genius or a person of great talent created it, and this is something that very often our Ukrainian filmmakers forget about, and they just want to be like reflect to their films to be a mere mirror of reality that is out there. What is the challenge in that, I ask, or I wonder? But that's me talking aloud. Can you tell both of you? That's a question for both of you, because I know both of you are very much invested in Stop Zemlya, and rightly so. You care a lot about it. So tell us a little bit about how the audiences perceived the film. What was the reaction of the audiences to your film, both in Ukraine and also when it was shown outside of Ukraine? And where was it shown?
I can begin. You can continue. Yes. In Odessa, in Ukraine, it was so therapeutic, I think, because it was like a big splash for the audience. It was very warm, but a lot of people after the screening went out from the cinema, and they had different looks. So it working like therapeutically, because I think that it touches the problem inside of the people, and they try to work with it. So I think that is the best that film can do. Try to break something inside of the people, and try to transform something, and to make them more on a, I don't know how to explain, on a step to be more, I don't know,
to improve?
Yeah, to be like more grow up inside. So I think that that is the main effect from the Stop Zemlya for me that I saw.
And so people reacted in that way. They said they felt elevated, they felt enthusiastic about it, they felt the film opened up something new to them. Kateryna.
Actually, it was really interesting that it was mostly young audience, I may say, because it was like, the cinema goers and festival lovers mostly. And it was the first time in 2 years that we had a proper festival, offline festival. So everybody gathered, and it was like a celebration of cinema. On every screening, it was really, really warm atmosphere there. And I think this is one of the reasons why Stop Zemlya was loved, because it was something from a festival, but from Ukraine, and it was really, really cherished there. But I heard the really controversial thing, like when, for example, one person after the film came to say thanks for the film, and he was really in love with the film. He's my age, maybe 30 plus, and he said that I was totally into the film, and I was really loving the every minute of the film. But my parents were with me, and my parents didn't like it at all. It was really strong contrast. Because and we were discussing it a lot afterwards, because so they say that it's so not really like it's not interesting, and this youth generation, it's just like the конченое просто поколение, and it's really
lost generation,
lost generation, and it's awful, and they are awful, and everything is awful, and that's kind of a thing like that. So I'm really interested in there is different in an audience of different age, how they would how they will perceive the film, because I have this kind of a feeling that maybe older generation would be not so enthusiastic of such a story. Yeah, but in Odessa, it was mostly young generation inside of the screening, so that's why they were really, yeah, they were. I think they were elevated. And one of the reaction that I really like about the film, and it's sometimes it's common reaction of different audiences in different countries. People after the film come to us and say something like, you know, I don't know why, but while I was watching your film, I was thinking about my school years, and I remembered so much about my own school. I didn't know that I even remember it still. And it was, for me, sometimes it was the most remarkable reaction, because people after the film think about their own year, like last year in school, not about the characters or the plot or something like that. This film's it's long enough, and this time uh, uh, it it gives people this space to think about their own life, or to feel this kind of feelings that they to remember these feelings from their last year of the school. And this is, I really like this feature of this film, and I don't know how we managed to do that, but yeah, this kind of a thing I really interested in now, to maybe repeat it in some different plot or different phase of the life. But this is one of the really most interesting feature for me now. And yeah, Ukrainian audience were laughing a lot. The people were laughing a lot on the film, and on some level, I was even frightened a bit, because, yeah, it felt like a comedy inside of our cinema hall, and I wasn't expected so strong reaction on some characters and on some dialects. And yeah, but I think it was connected with this kind of a familiarity of the situations, maybe.
Are you planning a theatrical release of Stop Zemlya in Ukraine?
Yeah, we really wanted it to happen, but yeah, we had not a good situation with COVID now, and that's why we are postponing into the next year, maybe to February. So, but we really aiming to do that, and now we're trying to make some promo for the film.
How about releasing the film on DVD? And this is something. Ukraine seems to be the only country in the world that produces films that then are shelved after they are released theatrically, they are shown on festivals, and then nothing on DVD. And nobody, even when I ask that question, people give me exactly the same kind of shrug of their shoulders. And it's very strange, because I think you guys should be interested in audiences 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, being able to watch what you have done, what you have dedicated, 2 years of your life and your enthusiasm to. How's that going on? How is there a DVD in the plans?
I think VOD is on the plans. Now we're trying this platform Takflix that, for example, we have in Ukraine, but
No, that's a different matter. Some people have Taflix, some people have Schlapflix, some people have Netflix, but DVD is for everybody to be able to buy, and for instance, to have in their library and show to their kids, and tell them, don't do the way these young kids do in the film. They are bad, or something like that. Well, this is a joke, but it's a very serious matter. There are all these films that are nowhere to be found, Ukrainian films, that you cannot build a Ukrainian film library if you wanted to, if your life depended on it, you can't. So I'm just saying this to urge you to think seriously about putting it on DVD and make a historical permanent record of what you have done, because this is a wonderful film and it needs to be in libraries of every person who cares anything about Ukrainian films. Okay, and on that optimistic note, I just wanted to again express my fascination and with the film, with the work that you did, and thanks and gratitude for it. I would really love my students here at Columbia to be able to watch the film, because there's so much we can talk about, language-wise, politics, culture of contemporary Ukraine, youth culture, which is a wonderful thing that the film shows. And I hope that before long, my students will have that opportunity. And I hope we should be able to host you here at Columbia in person when COVID is gone, and we can screen the film and have a discussion in person of the film and celebrate it, because that's what it fully deserves celebration, that film. So guys, thank you so very much. I feel our conversation is not finished. There are so many things we need to discuss when we meet again. When you are in New York, you have a welcome here. Let me know, and when I'm in Kiev, I will give you a call, and I would love to meet you in person. Thank you so very much, and all the best to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye-bye.